Patrish, you are live.
Hello everybody and welcome, or should I say ahoy mateys, because today we are diving a shipwreck. So I am Pat, I am your underwater biologist today. We have the South African Rian on the camera, and on the surface we have the beautiful Scottish woman Lauren. Now, today I am diving the Kittiwake. So the Kittiwake is a ship that was built in the 1940s. So we're going to go for a quick swim along it. Rian will film it, and as we go along I'll give you a little bit of history about this. Now don't forget, if you have any questions or any comments or anything, please send them in. If you're on Twitter, use the hashtag diveLIVE. Now Lauren, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Good morning everyone, what an exciting morning it is. So as Pat mentioned, he is diving the US Kittiwake, which is a shipwreck here in Grand Cayman. So Pat is going to give you some history on it, but please do send in your questions and we'll do our very best to answer them.
So the Kittiwake was built and commissioned in the 1940s. Now, it was built as a submarine rescue vessel. Now, what is really funny about this is that the only submarine that it ever rescued was actually one that it hit and damaged itself. So it was kind of a self-inflicted thing, but it did rescue it and all was well. Now, on top of that, it also rescued the black box from the Challenger space shuttle crash. So the black box from that contains all the information and all the recordings and everything was retrieved by this ship. Now, it was decommissioned in the 1990s, and it was actually the first ever ship that was sold to another country for diving. So it was sold to Grand Cayman, or the Cayman Islands, and it was sank for diving in 2011. And now, this is where it sits. Obviously, we can see it's not sitting upright anymore. It has been knocked over on its side.
That was a lot of awesome information, Pat, and this Kittiwake here also set a world record for the deepest submarine rescue exercise, taking an officer and 4 others to a depth of 705 feet in 1959. So this ship has a lot of history.
Yeah, very famous wreck. It's also quite beautiful. It's kind of eerie sitting here in the background. And Rian is just going to go take a look inside. I will handle the cables to make sure that nothing gets hit.
Oh, there we have a jack. I think it's a bar jack. Yeah, we have a bar jack just hanging inside there saying hello.
You can go in a little deeper if you want, Rian. I've got this cable sorted. So this ship had 10 officers and 88 crew members. So there's only 3 showers and it's a very tight living space, so you can imagine how frustrating that could have been.
So Pat, Spaz is asking what animals would live inside this ship.
Well, I actually have dived this shipwreck before, and inside there's a lot of sessile organisms, sessile meaning attached. So a lot of sponges and algae and even a few little corals. But in terms of fish, there's groupers and jacks that quite often will come out of nowhere and surprise you.
Yeah, we just saw a grouper there. I think it was a Graysby.
Yes, that was a Graysby.
Yeah, so many animals will take advantage of the ship and start to use it almost like an artificial reef and use it for habitat. So you can see right now there's lots of things growing on it, from corals, algae, sponges, tunicates, all sorts of life forms, and of course the fish will use it to hide out as well.
Now, just to give you an idea of how far down this shipwreck is, I am at 16 meters, which is about 50 feet. Now, up here we have the captain's steering wheel. So, let me relive. Ahoy, mateys!
Nice work, Pat.
So this wreck is actually a really good dive. Unfortunately, we are restricted by cables, so we can't take you in everywhere, but we still will go around the outside and show you what we can of the ship. Now, after we have gone along the wreck, there's also a really beautiful reef that sits out to this side of the ship, and we'll be looking around here for hopefully a turtle. We did have a turtle going up to the surface before we started the dive, and there was also a big green turtle spotted here yesterday.
I would love to see a green turtle. It would be the first green I would see here in Grand Cayman, so that would be awesome. And Pat's right, we did spot a hawksbill, a new hawksbill, never seen before by us, swimming around just before we went live. So I hope you guys find it.
Yes, we'll be on the lookout. So wreck diving is a popular type of diving around the world. There are quite a number of shipwrecks that have been intentionally sunk for diving purposes. And now this really does make, of course, some beautiful dives. Back home in Australia, I was diving a shipwreck actually for my open water course, or advanced open water course, and still to this day it remains one of my favourite dives.
Well, we have a question from James asking, seas have moved Kittiwake a few times into deeper waters. Do we know about that? So originally it sank in at 60 feet, but it was knocked over on the port side by Tropical Storm Nate, and it scooped up a chunk of sand, and it's now sitting at 70 feet. Oh, and we have a turtle.
We do. So this is different to the hawksbill.
This is a very small one.
Yeah.
What size would you say, Pat?
Well, probably about the carapace or the shell is about 70 centimetres, so a little bit over 2 feet.
And it looks like it's got some sort of bump on the back of the carapace, but I'm not able to see it quite clearly right now.
Yeah, it does. It's got a little bit of a kind of, it doesn't look like damage, it just looks like the shell has grown outwards over that rear section.
So we can clearly see the right side, which is great, and hopefully we can get a look at the left side as well. So I'm just double checking our database, but because we are in a different location, I do believe this will be an unknown individual. So would you say this is juvenile? Would you say the carapace is under 60 centimetres from top to bottom?
I'd say it's a little bit over 60. I'd say it's about 70 centimetre carapace.
Yeah, so not including the head, yeah?
Yeah, not including the head.
Okay, so if the hawksbill, which is what this species is, has a carapace of 60 centimetres, the carapace just means shell, and above, then we generally classify it as an adult. So because it doesn't have a tail in between its legs, then we would be able to say it is female.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just caught on the line here. There we go. Sorry about that.
So Spas has mentioned that we see a lot of hawksbills. There are actually greens and loggerheads around the area too, but we just haven't sighted them yet on a live dive. So fingers crossed, we will in the future, but this one here is a hawksbill, and it's most likely looking for some yummy sponges to eat. So Craig asked, what is the pink floating by? So this is just plankton. There seems to be a lot of plankton in the water, and we are using a red filter on our camera, which just makes the plankton look pink, but it actually isn't pink. So we sometimes call this the marine snow, as it looks like it's snowing underwater, but it is just the plankton. Can add this new turtle into the database, which is a fantastic, exciting thing. So we are able to identify each and every individual turtle we see using the scales on the side of the face. So we can see some sergeant majors up ahead.
Now, Lauren, I actually think that we may have seen this turtle before. I can't remember which one it was, but remember I said the one that had patches running all the way up its body, and it kind of looked like spines? I mean, like stars?
Yes.
Have you got the database? It might be worth...
I have had a look. I think you're referring to Hawksbill 005, but I don't... The scales do not match.
Okay.
So it's definitely not that one, but you're right, this one also has a funny bump at the bottom of the carapace.
Ah, that's great. So this would be Hawksbill 8 then, is it?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Should we call this one Lucky Pat?
Yeah, yes, let's do that.
So Proud Cat Mama is asking, Pat, why exactly are hawksbills important to the ecosystem?
Well, hawksbills are important because they eat a lot of sponges. So sponges can overgrow and bore into corals if they are left unchecked. So the eating of sponges actually benefits the ecosystem. And now, we don't really like to think about turtles being eaten, but they are a food source for a lot of sharks. So they do feed other larger predators, as nasty as that might sound.
So they have two main reasons for being important to the ecosystem, and as Pat mentioned, they do feed on all the sponges, and if the sponges were not kept in control, they would have the ability to grow over and smother the coral as they compete with the coral. So the hawksbill turtles keep these sponges in check, and they are said that one individual can eat about 1,000 pounds of sponges per year. So they love to eat their sponges, and this is just for the hawksbill only. So Love Dogs has suggested naming this one Captain.
That's actually not a bad one.
I like it, I really like it.
Yeah, I think we can stick with Captain.
And Brent was asking about the biggest turtle we get. So regarding hawksbills, they are on average around 90 centimeters from head to tail, so just under that 1 meter mark, 3 feet. There has been some records of them going up to 3 feet, but they're not the largest of the turtles. So the carapace, which is just the shell from top to bottom, grows to a maximum of 79 centimeters. So Fern is asking, Pat, can hawksbills and green turtles interbreed?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question actually. So, well, there is a little bit, I've read this paper a little bit more thoroughly to me, so I'll let you explain it.
Yes, here on Grand Cayman, they do believe there is a possibility of a hybrid species of hatchlings, which are newborns, very, very small turtles, of loggerheads, and results have not came back yet. So they have believed this has happened quite often here in Grand Cayman. So this would be an extremely interesting and important thing for the science of turtles. So we will keep you updated when we get the results.
Aye, aye, Captain. Reproduction.
Yeah, I love dogs. I think that's the winner. I think that is the winner. So Spas is asking, what is the rarest and most threatened sea turtle?
What was that, sorry?
What is the rarest and most threatened sea turtle?
Well, I believe the leatherback is the most rare, and I'm not sure, I think it's up there with the most threatened. I know that hawksbills are one of the highest rating on the IUCN red list, but I believe the leatherbacks are definitely the least cited, at least, if that's what you're meaning in terms of rare.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by rare either. If you mean here in Grand Cayman, well, we do see the hawksbill, the green and the loggerhead, and the leatherback is known to come here to nest, but I don't think it is regularly sighted. Endangered, this hawksbill is listed as critically endangered by the IUCN Red List. So all turtles, 6 out of the 7 global species worldwide, are listed as endangered, vulnerable, or critically endangered. So Brent is asking, Pat, do turtles sleep?
Yes, they do. I've actually seen a very lovely photo of a turtle sleeping inside of a big barrel. So they do come down and take naps. Now, as they have to breathe air, they will sit after.
Yeah, so it's not sleeping like you or I would, snoring our heads off at night time, but it is resting, so they don't go into a level of sort of subconscious like we do. They do just rest. They will sort of breathe anaerobically and save all their energy, and even although they're resting, they will have to come to the surface every so often to breathe. They cannot go through the whole night without breathing. And for those of you wondering, that is our cable there. That is our communication cable.
Yes, we are all tethered together. That's how we bring the broadcast to you guys. So I have a cable that runs into Rian's back, where he has the housing, and then that has another cable coming out of this that goes all the way back up to the surface. Lauren is on the boat.
Luckily I am not attached to that cable, but Pat,
yep.
Proud Cat Mama is asking, how many eggs does a hawksbill lay?
Ooh, that is a good question. So I know with another species of turtle, the olive ridleys, we would get 90 to 100 eggs per clutch, usually. But as for with the hawksbill, I'm not sure. Do you know that one, Lauren?
Yep, so hawksbills lay on average 130 eggs per clutch. So this is actually, I didn't realise this until recently, dependent on the size of the carapace of the individual female. So what that means is the bigger females, the stronger females, will actually lay bigger clutches, and the smaller females won't lay so big ones. And clutches is just a name that we term the sort of lay of eggs at one time. So for hawksbills, it's around 130 small ping pong sized eggs. And they can lay between 4 and 5 clutches each breeding season.
And a really interesting thing about these clutches is that the temperature will determine what sex they are. So if it comes out, well, if it's a cooler environment, then they will come out as females, and if it's a warmer, they will come out as males. So an easy way to remember this is cool dudes and hot chicks.
So Spas, those bluefish that we got a beautiful shot of, they were the Creole wrasse, just for your information. And Pat did mention the olive ridleys, but no, we don't get them here in Grand Cayman.
Oh, let's have a look here at this plaque. So, this plaque over here has a little bit of a spiel about the USS Kittiwake. But it says here that it was sank in December of 2010, but that is not actually real. July in 2010, sorry. But they had really bad weather during this, so they didn't actually sink it on this date. And they never changed the plaque either.
Yeah, so everyone can have a little read of that plaque that is attached to the ship, the USS Kittiwake. So we have a lot of question about turtles, of course. So Pat, James is asking, how often do turtles come up for air?
Well, that depends on the species and the age. But for a hawksbill, they will on average dive about 20 minutes, at least for a hawksbill, of the size of a one we just saw. But leatherback turtles, on the other hand, they can dive for up to 6 hours.
Yes, the leatherbacks are crazy good at diving. So hawksbills can actually take dives between 4 and 7 hours if they want to, but like Pat mentioned, normally when they're just resting on the coral reefs, enjoying basking in the sun to warm up their bodies and feeding, they sort of take on average 20-minute dives. So the juvenile turtles still aren't quite so good at diving as the bigger turtles, so the bigger it is, the deeper it can go for longer. So I have a question for, I don't know if Pat will know this, but let's see if all those people watching from home know. What is the name given to, the collective name given to a group of turtles? So for example, when we see fish, we either label it a school or a shoal or even a herd of cows on land. So what is the correct turtles? Do you know that, Pat?
Well, I reckon I do, but let's see if anyone at home knows.
Let's see if we can answer it. And we're just getting a quick ear check from Jacqueline, so can you give us an ear check?
I certainly can. So, oh well, I got very quickly. I'm on 100 bar.
Thank you for that update.
So, this little chamber bit here, this area, so this bit sticking out here, we won't go inside it because of the cables, but when you actually go inside there, there's a little pocket of air at the very top. So you can actually come up here and stick your head out. You don't want to breathe it in because the air is very toxic, but you can actually come up and sit in the airspace and talk.
Yes, it's very, very bizarre. You can be diving and you can come into this little air pocket and you will be out of the water and in air again. It's a very bizarre thing to experience. And CJ is asking, can turtles get the bends? And that is incredible that you have just asked that, because I spent all of last night reading about that for some reason. And yes, it's been scientifically proved that they can. So this is normally only occurring in turtles when they're hooked on fishing lines and brought up too fast. So they are able to control their rate of ascent to the surface by themselves. But if they're trapped in fishing gear or fishing lines and brought up by humans, there's been many examples now of turtles that have the bends. So that is a great question. You read my mind. And yes, the bends is when nitrogen enters your blood and you're diving, because you are breathing at depth. The nitrogen goes into your blood, and if you ascend too quickly, your body is not able to deal with that. It's also known as decompression sickness or illness. So yeah, that was a great question. Turtles can get it.
So let's go to the reef now. We have a great angel. Oh, hang on around. I'm just getting up for you. I know, it's all good.
So while we're having a look, Pat, Timothy is asking, are turtles territorial?
Are turtles territorial?
Yes.
Yes, so they're I'm not sure about how aggressively they defend their territory, but they do tend to stick to the same feeding grounds. Now, with reproduction, they will actually go back to whatever beach they were born at and nest there, but for feeding, they tend to stick to the same area, which is why on the reef at Casuarina Point, we have been seeing the same turtles like Gretchen and Patch.
Yes, they are quite territorial to their foraging grounds, so it's not territorial like a fish who will guard a very tiny patch of the reef. It's more territorial to the whole feeding ground. They do leave the feeding ground though to go in to mate, and then also the females take on a short migration to go lay their eggs. So yes, they are partially territorial. So we do have some answers to my question, Pat.
Yes, can you please let us know? I
believe Love Dogs and Brian and Proud Cat Mama and Spaz have all got it right. It is a bale of turtles, B-A-L-E. I hope you didn't use Google for that.
Well done, guys. So it's good to see that we can answer questions both ways.
So we still have lots of questions on the turtle. Oh, Jinlin got it right as well. Yes, well done. It is a bale of turtles. I'm just checking through all the feeds. So Pat, there is a question about the threats that turtles face. So all the species of turtle, that is 7 globally, what are all the threats that they do face to being a turtle?
Oh wow, there is many. So, global warming, obviously, is a big factor because their nests, as I said, are dependent on heat or lack of to determine their sex. So as the world starts getting warmer, that's going to be more biased towards one sex than the other. And without the other sex, you can't have reproduction. So that's one. Then there's fishing. So a lot of turtles are bycatch for fishing. They get caught in nets and tangled in lines. And this is a huge killer of them.
Yes, there's so many threats, and it was mentioned that hawksbills are particularly fished for their shell, which is used to make jewellery, called tortoise shell. Coastal development is removing beach ecosystems from the turtles. The turtles need the beaches intact. Then there's also the natural threats. In some areas of the world are suffering really bad, beaches are suffering really badly from erosion. So the beaches are being lost in that way also. And ghost nets in particular, as Pat mentioned, fishing gear. Ghost nets are old discarded nets which have been abandoned by fishermen, and they float on the surface. And not just turtles, but many marine life are getting stuck in these nets. I personally rescued well over 10 olive ridleys from nets, a hawksbill and some greens in my past. So these nets are causing a huge problem, particularly in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, horrible. And, oh yeah, and lastly, pollution also. So a lot of, well, leatherbacks in particular, they eat jellyfish. And now if you look at a jellyfish and a plastic bag next to each other in the water, they don't actually look too different from one another. So unfortunately, a lot of leatherbacks swallow plastic bags and drown.
Yes, well mentioned. Spaz actually just wrote that about the plastic bags affecting turtles because they mistake them for jellyfish.
Now, here I have found a very different type of coral. It is called, so these grow in a very different style to others. Now these are green, and if you can get it close up, you can actually see the little polyps. They will actually only come out on either side of the wire coral.
Yeah, so just to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about, Pat is talking about this sort of wire-looking structure that is protruding right out of the reef. It is not wire, it's actually a type of coral. So that means it's an animal or a collection of animals.
Oh, turtle. Bigger one. Wow.
Nice.
This is a big male.
Oh, nice. So while we're looking for that turtle, Proud Cat Mama did ask what is the lifespan of a hawksbill, and that is anywhere between 30 to 50 years for the hawksbill species. Yeah, we've got a glimpse of it in the distance. Is it a hawksbill, Pat?
I believe, oh no, I think it's a green.
No way.
This could be our first green turtle.
So the reason Pat knew that was a male was because of that big, huge tail in between the black back flippers there. You cannot miss that appendage there, which is a tail. It also functions as their reproductory organs as well. So it's definitely a boy, but from this angle, I'm not able to tell the species just yet.
Wow, this is massive.
Can you give us a size estimate?
I would say about $1.20 m, maybe $1.50 m, so 4 to 5 feet shell length.
Yep, I can confirm it is a green turtle, Chelonia mydes. This is our very first green turtle on diveLIVE, and it just happens to be a boy.
Oh, how exciting.
Amazing. So Rian, I know this is a lot of work, but if you're just able to get close-ups of the side of the face, that would be awesome. So green turtles are completely different from hawksbills, and they're actually called green turtles not because they're green. This one does actually look a little green, but generally most of them don't. They're actually called green turtles because under the shell they have a really thick layer of fat called callipee, and this is bright green, really green, and that's where the name comes from. A lot of cultures around the world do actually eat this fat, and they can sort of fry it up, and it's called callipee.
Wow. That was really...
Pat, that was awesome.
Oh.
So we need some name suggestions for that one. So it was definitely a male because of that tail. So I'm sure you all saw it. Compared to the small hawksbill that we saw, there was no presence of a tail extending past the carapace. Whereas this individual had a really huge, thick tail coming way out past the carapace. It almost looked like an additional flipper. So automatically we know straight away that it's a boy. So I will have to double check if we got the ID on that one. It was obviously swimming away, but hopefully we did manage to get a capture of the side of the face to make an ID on it.
Did you get at least a very good look at it?
Yes, we saw it well from behind. We just got a little glimpse at the face, but it definitely was a green turtle.
Yes, it was moving it very quickly. I'm only just getting my back.
So I just saw your question, Proud Cat Mama, but I hope that answers your question, why green turtles are called green. And many people can get green turtles and hawksbill turtles confused. So just some differences between them. Hawksbills have a very serrated edge along their shell. Green shells will be completely smooth around the edges. They will not be jaggy or serrated. Hawksbills have this very sharp, pointy beak like that of a hawk. It's very obvious, it's very pointy, whereas green beaks are completely flat. They're very flat because they are designed just for grazing on the seagrass. They are herbivores, completely different from hawksbills eating sponges. So they do not compete for the same food resource. Also, if you look a turtle in the face, head on, you can see that a hawksbill will have 2 pairs of prefrontal scales in between the eyes, so 4 in total, and a green will only have 1 pair, which is 2 in total. So there are many differences between these 2 species.
Alright, well, unfortunately, in the little chase, I did use up the last of and before I reach 50 bar. So now that I am on 50 bar, it's time to go up and do a safety stop. So thank you all for joining me. What an exciting dive that was. A hawksbill and a big male green, plus the beautiful scenery of a shipwreck on the background over an amazing reef. So we will be doing another boat dive. I will be going down with you at 11 AM. Now, what site we're going to go, we don't know yet. We're going to leave that as a bit of a surprise. But I hope that you can all join me, tell your mates, and watch along. I'll be diving with you 11 AM, Grand Cayman time.
Thank you so much, Pat. That was an awesome dive and our very first green turtle. And not only was it a green turtle, it was a male. Fantastic find. So we will be back at 11 AM Grand Cayman time, and please join us then.